I'll talk about publication ethics, more so because what we have seen through the years is that we have done well in terms of improving on publication ethics, but has it been uh, done very well? That is something that needs to be questioned. So it's important that the faculty members know well what are the publication ethics so that they are able to tell that to their students and also use it for their own writing purposes. Then how to put in your evidences in academic writing, we will talk briefly about it so that the problems of plagiarism or academic dishonesty does not come into picture. The third thing which I would want to talk today, briefly I'll do that, is the use of a reference management tool. Reference management tools are many. However, I prefer using Zotero for my reference management. And this is important, and I want to touch upon it because uh, it will help everyone to understand that how we were wasting so much of our time and resources on references, wherein we could have just used reference management tools for this purpose. Uh, then something, a problem which comes in, very often, and we really do not know how to take care of that is understanding how to write the research articles. Okay, so it's not just important that we put in, we have done some analysis and we just put those analysis on our research paper and then send it to the publishing houses and they reject it. Okay, so there's an art of writing research articles. Okay, so it has to start with defining a problem and also in the same pretext talking about uh, how you're going to solve those problems. So in common parlance we call that gap spotting, and I'll also touch upon something which we call as problematization, in which we are looking beyond gap spotting and we are looking forth to things which we generally don't do. That is asking original questions, asking uncomfortable questions, and challenging the status quo. All right, so that what we generally lack in the discipline. So that we call as problematization. So yeah, so about academic misconduct, I'll quickly take you through. Uh, and see, misconduct is basically not just the outcome of academics or the teachers. No, I believe that the system also helps us in doing misconduct or indulge in fraudulent practices. All right. So there can be many reasons for this, but primarily I believe in that there has to be a system which should be created from the very grassroots level and not just at the end of it. And you say that, yeah, you have to publish and you have to publish in good journals before you get your PhD accepted, or for example you will be recruited to a better institution, or maybe you will be promoted. Okay, so tenure track is very common in Western nations. Here in India, we call them career advancement. So all these things, lead to a kind of pressure that is very much evident in the academics today, and therefore they, indulge in misconduct. And what is this really? What is this misconduct? So I'll just quickly tell you. You collude with other people, pay them money, and get your article published. These are called predatory journals. Uh, they are there right now as refereed journals, but maybe later on uh, they will not even be in the picture. So, predatory journals, the first red flag, and you see and you run away, is that when they ask you for a fee straight away, and then they just give you an acceptance in a day or two. This kind of a shady practice is something you should always run away. Because it is not doing you any good right now. Maybe even later on, if your CV is having those publications, there can be a problem related to it. All right. So there is a difference here between the journals that ask for payment straight away and then help you in publishing the article straight away, and the ones who ask for your article processing charges, okay, which are first up. That means while you are submitting your article. So why it is that it is first up? It's because that there can be a lot of articles that they have to garner through, they have to look into, organize and work with, and they do not have so much of resources. All right. So most of the good journals that they do, is the reason is that they want absolute serious candidates who believe that their research is appropriate for that particular journal, and then only they will submit the article. So article processing charges first up before the submission, or just in parallel with the submission, is fine, I would say, because this is the reason. And then there are some journals, because they don't have any agencies to support them for publication, they charge it for the publication purposes, to get the DOI numbers or get the plagiarism check done and all those things. So they ask for this APC at the end. That means when your article is getting published. More so, I don't see, most of the journals today are, you can freely submit there and get your article published there. There is one more thing which I wanted to highlight here, is about the gold access, or open access articles. Every journal is now accepting that. The only point which should be highlighted is that those journals will ask you to pay an amount which will take care of their publication and other issues if they have to make it free. So if you're looking to publish in open source, then you have to pay an extra amount here. All right. So these are some of the challenges which can come forth. Though, if you are looking for, say, if you are having a funding agency to fund your work, maybe then you can look out for that. Okay. So yeah, one more quick suggestion here can be that there can be a categorization of academics or professors who absolutely want to do research. So you can call them scholarly academics and let them do research. And those who are not interested in research, say, for example, they're more interested in teaching, can be asked to do teaching. Okay, so more of academics who is into teaching. However, this is not a fine line, or there is no black and white over here, because nowadays the competition is tough. Even the best of academics would want their people, or the faculty members, to come and publish, because they say that if you publish and if you know the recent changes and developments in the area, you would be a better teacher, because in that sense you will be able to cite some good examples in the classroom, some things that are really happening, or the things, perspectives that are really changing, can only come when you are interested in doing research in your area or domain. So yeah, so these can be the challenges in publication, which we need to maneuver and move forward. I'll quickly tell you about what I really meant here. So I'm talking about publication ethics, and I quickly want to tell you that those research participants, either you're looking for a survey research, or you're doing your experimentation on the human subjects as well as the animals, if I can bring in here, you must ensure, for the humans, you must ensure that uh, their identity is kept anonymous. I think somebody is doing this annotation. Parul, can you please take care of that? Yeah, thank you. Okay, somebody would want to draw here. So that's amazing. Okay, I'll just not waste any more time here. So you need to look into that. The participants are anonymous, and their data is kept confidential. All right, very quickly, this is important because you cannot make the identity of the participant participant open, because there can be other things, other issues that can come up. So this is related to the research participants. Also, there has to be a research committee, a higher education committee, which looks after the ethical aspects. Whenever a project is sanctioned or uh, a project is sponsored, then in that case, or even for the PhD students of a given university, they may plan their research design in a way which helps take data from the research participants. So those research participants, how they are going to be, confronted with. I mean, how would you go and tell them that I have to take your data? How would you keep the data? And how would you ensure anonymity? And every other thing, are you taking a informed consent that we call, from the research participants or not? Nowadays, if you just submit any article to a good journal, they'll ask you all these questions. They'll ask you if the informed consent was given to the participant. That means you cannot just ask them and coax them into doing or filling up surveys or doing researches. You cannot do that. So you'll have to tell them that this is for the research purpose and your data will be used in this way, and you have absolute control on how you can leave the survey or experiment midway if you do not like it. All right. So all these things, should be approved by the ethics committee of one's institution. Okay. If there is no ethics committee, then there should be one as per the UGC regulation 2018. Okay. So there has to be one ethics committee who approves all these things. This forms part of your publication ethics. Other than that, about the data, I'll quickly try and tell you that whatever data and however you are collecting those data sets, what process has been used needs to be provided. So you have to disclose all the methodological details and tell them, yeah, this is how the data has been collected. Tell them if you are using any secondary source. So mention the sources from where you have generated the data. And there is absolutely no harm in telling, what is the citation, how you would reference the whole data set. All right. One more thing which I wanted to tell here. I think there is some issue.
So if I could just make an announcement, I request please not to note on the screen. And I'm shocked that all of us are from the same, backgrounds, and we are all faculty members. And still, if someone is doing like this, it's, I would say, it's not acceptable. And please, I request, you people are disturbing the session. And for people who are joining it seriously, I think for them, I would request not to create any kind of disturbance. If anyone wants to leave, they're free to leave.
I mean, we can do that. I think there is some.
Yes, we've done the settings. So
perfect. I think there's a question, I guess. Mr.
If you want, we can take it in the end.
Okay, as you say. Or you can just put it on the chat box, Mr. Satyendra. All right, and we'll take it after my session. All right. All right. So I was just talking about how you can, what are the precautions that needs to be taken for the data analysis, any methodology that you have used, or any research design that you're going to use. Please mention how you have used it, because if somebody wants to replicate it and get the results, can get it easily. All right. So also, it's very important to preserve the data. Somebody, if they're saying that please you can destroy the data sets, don't do that, because nowadays what is happening while you're going to submit your article to any reputed journal, they are asking if the data is available for dissemination. So maybe there can be two things that you can do. One way you can yourself put the data and get a DOI. DOI is digital object identifier. One thing that you can do here. The second thing, and you can share the DOI with the publication house so that they can see that, okay, the data is there. And the second thing which you can do is you can submit your data as the supplementary file while you are submitting your article. All right, so both the things can be done and equally useful. Nowadays, you will see that data needs to be provided along with your research work. So do not just let loose the data. Please preserve it, keep it for yourself, uh, and that's how you proceed. About authorship, I would like to quickly tell you what is the process and how you can keep a check here. So we are always talking about collaboration. We are talking about how can we collaborate with people. So also, in some of the projects that are funded, you will see there are many research associates working. Okay, so for each of the research, you do not want everyone to be the authors. Okay, this is not how the authorship is determined. So if you look into the COPE guidelines, Committee on Publication Ethics guidelines, they say that the authors are the one who have conceptually and in an intellectual way they have contributed something to the article. Maybe some of the journals, they even ask you what aspect of this article has have different co-authors worked on. So I'll make it clear, if you are getting the data collected, so if you're doing this data collection work, you're not an author. Okay, you can just be given an acknowledgement that you have collected the data. If you are working on the data and you have found something meaningful, or you have written the research questions, or you have found the research gaps, then yes, you can say that yes, you're an author. Otherwise, not. And precisely this is how you decide on who is going to be the first author and so on, because the first author, the second author is determined. The positioning is determined on the basis of the contribution done. All right, and this is how it should go. Also, there is a corresponding author. We all know that who will correspond with the journal where the article has been submitted, and that corresponding author has responsibilities in the sense that you will have to take consent from all the co-authors. You cannot do it all alone. So if somebody is a co-author, then you have to ask all the required documentation that needs to be carried out. So the journal directly contacts the corresponding author, not all the authors, for issues related to publication. All right. Now the second question which comes in here is, how do you determine the right journal for your article, for the work that you have done? So I believe that this is a process which does not come at the end of uh, writing your research article. It should be done at the very beginning, meaning thereby that uh, you you start writing. So once you're doing the experiments, or you're doing the surveys, or you have understood what my research gap is, and you have drafted your research questions, then you can select that, okay, this is the home to where I would want my publication to feature. So how do you select this right journal? This was about the time, and how do you select it? So basically, you look into some of the articles that have been published in your domain and what you are working on, and see what are the which are the journals where your the domain of articles which you are, say for example, you're going into behavioral finance, so maybe you would want to look into Journal of Behavioral Finance. All right, or maybe any other journal, depending on how do you want to proceed. Uh, the journals which are A star categories in ABDC, or A in ABDC, they will always look for uh, articles that are comprehensive, rigorous, and have a robust methodology. All right. So one thing is very important, that if you're looking for A star publication, if you want to do it right from the very beginning, then do it in a way which is rigorous. That means maybe you can have different studies to find the same thing, and also you would want to have different samples. So cross-sectional studies are generally not considered uh, in top-notch journals, because cross-sectional studies, when you are collecting data from at one time period. Okay, so you have a questionnaire, that you have designed, or you have taken it from a um, published source which is standardized, you can absolutely get your work published. But they would not want that only uh, data is generated from one time period. So you may want to look into for different time periods, so you can convert it into longitudinal studies. Or maybe you would want to look into the qualitative part. You can do a mixed methodology study wherein you are doing a qualitative plus quantitative. Or maybe you can increase the validity that we call as incremental validity by uh, collecting data on it from a different sample in a different time period. So there can be rigorous ways to generalize the findings, and this is how. So if you have to select the journal that you're working on, high impact, low impact, and so on and so forth, you will have to also understand that what are the criteria for selection. Also, it is great if you can look into the articles that have been already published in such journals. So they act as a barometer for us, because the kind of articles they accept, so they would still want the same rigor to be followed later on also. So it's a good idea to read articles that have been published and in those journals. All right. Now, impact factor, I would like to tell what is the best impact factor, where you should you can try publishing your article, and so on and so forth. So impact factor is basically the citation, in a given year. So maybe citation in 2021, total number of citation, divided by publication done in all the publications, okay, for that particular journal, done in 2019 and 2020. So if you have to find out the impact factor of a journal, you do it that way. And impact factors for a journal are published by Clarivate. So this is how it's done. You can also look in for site score, that has a different formula, and that's given by Elsevier. It has a different formula. All right. So this is how you go in for the selection. Um, Also, uh, investigate part. If you look into closely, I'll tell you articles um, that have already been published or are coming from the same domain. Uh, Showcase that there is nothing original that you're working on. All right. So it's important that, and then also understand that the literature which you're looking at, you have to see if things that you are catering to, that means whatever your research question is, has that not been answered before? Because if that has been answered before, then you're not doing anything original. All right. And we generally look into articles that even come in RIJBR. They're mostly like that this study has been done before in Western countries, and now I'm replicating the same study on a different sample. Uh, so so that kind of study or that kind of research design generally doesn't look like it's originally, if you're not finding a new dimension. All right. So this can be thought about. Now, most of us have this problem with the peer review process, and I'll not say that I don't have an issue. We always feel the pinch when our article gets rejected, and but we need to follow some of the guidelines so that there is no desk rejection. Okay. So it's important. I'll come to the peer review process very soon. Just in order to mention that how can you save yourself from desk rejection, first thing which uh, everyone should understand here is that we have to write our research in a way we are telling an incident or we are telling a story. All right. It takes up from the introduction and it reaches where you conclude. Okay. And that should be linked to each other. Okay. What we generally look at, and why the articles are rejected, is that you do not have a connect with what you are introducing the things with and what your conclusion is. I'll be very open here. What happens is we write things in closed compartments. Say, for example, we start writing uh, literature review, not knowing what we have to review. Okay, first thing. Then we start doing the analysis because we have collected the data. and then we keep on writing our discussion, conclusion, and anything, and out of anywhere comes the objective section, where you are writing that, okay, why I'm undertaking this research, because these are my objectives. Now, please understand, gone are those days when such articles will be published, because there has to be a connect right from the introduction till the conclusion. So how do you connect your article? So first thing is that ask yourself if this research has not been done before, or it is offering some originality, novelty, or the implications which come out of this research, will it have some implications for the government, for the policymakers, even not that, then for the corporates, for individuals, for the society, whatever discipline that we are taking in. I mean, this is very, very important. So how do you put in your introduction? And I'm talking from the point that I would go in when I'm writing my introduction. So it's mostly about what the article is all about. So first thing, maybe you can talk about the topic itself, the first paragraph. From the next paragraph itself, you have to talk about what is not there in the literature, okay, or what is there but there is a gap. What is there in the literature but it's falls short, okay, and that is how you start understanding that yes, this is the research gap, okay, something that has not been done already, or something that has been done but not done in a way which I am taking forth. So that is how you realize or understand or identify the gaps. And it's important that right from the second or third paragraphs you start discussing on the gaps, okay. That means cite those articles that are close, that have worked on it, but they have not addressed the issue that you are going to address. And then quickly therein after it, that means the next paragraph, maybe you can just introduce that. So these are my research questions, coming straight away from the gaps. Uh, and those research questions are the ones that I'm going to study in this research article, or find out how I'm going to study that. So after putting in your research gaps, some authors do this, that they do not put the research questions in the introduction, they put it on in the conceptual or theoretical development. So that is also perfectly all right. Why I'm saying it, because introduction is that one piece of information that is read first, and that is something which sells your article after the abstract. Absolutely, abstract is important, then comes the introduction. So if we put in the things that we are going to do, then it definitely seals the purpose. The second thing, after that, when you put in your research questions, and then what you can talk about is what are the contributions of your research work, or maybe even not that. If you want, you can say that what are the contributions that we are looking forward in our article. So contributions of the research you can talk about in one paragraph, and then maybe the last paragraph of the introduction can just talk about how you have structured your entire article, okay. And then it can definitely go to conceptual framework, theoretical framework. It's important that we if we are, so I'll come to that later, but let me just touch upon it here, that if there is a research problem uh, which is understood not through gap analysis but through problematization, that means you're not just looking at what has not been done earlier, you are saying that whatever has been done earlier, or on whatever assumptions that those things are based upon, you are refuting it, okay. Or say, for example, investors, if we talk about, they were earlier said to be rational, okay. Then came a point where people called it that the investors are irrational, okay. And then came the concept of biases in decision making, all right. Then Thaler came up with the work for which he got the Nobel Prize also, was that this irrationality is also systemic, okay. So what you're doing is you're questioning the assumptions, and it makes it interesting. And this is just one subject area which I'm talking about. There are a lot of things that can be talked about, okay. Right now what we are looking at is, because of COVID, the things which we used to do has changed completely, okay. So all the assumptions that dictated as in what is there in the theory or what researches has been done, maybe those assumptions can now be questioned because of COVID. One such example is that we are absolutely having no problem working from home. All those knowledge workers who are working from home, they're having absolutely no problem working from home. Okay, the work is getting done even better than it was done when we were working from offices. So maybe we can ask questions regarding workplaces, we can ask questions regarding the time which is set for a work 9 to 5 or something like that. And you will see gradually this is something which has been which is being talked about and in the discussion more and more. Elon Musk, he talked about it. He said that those employees who don't want to come to the work, please stay away from Tesla. So it also comes from how the culture of the workplace is. All right, like Airbnb says that we would not even go for hybrid working. We would just go for work from home. So it depends on what and how the organizations are willing to get the work done. All right, what the theories and researchers say, and we can talk about. um, I just read one piece of article in Harvard Business Review from I guess Dr. Pereira, Professor Pereira. It was about and the research was about, if the meetings uh, are productive. So can we have no meeting days in a week or months for organization? No meeting days, because their data suggests that the day when there is no meeting in the organization, uh, people are more productive. All right, and there can be many other issues that can be talked about. So what we are really looking at is questioning the assumptions. Now coming back to peer review process, I'll quickly tell you here that how should it be. Every journal has this peer review process, and I'll tell you that it's a fairly difficult process to have reviewers, because it's a work which reviewers do. Mostly they are not paid for it. So you understand that reviewing an article may take a week or maybe more than that time for a person to review if the review is done well. Now the next point is review should be blind in nature. There are now questions on it, because if it's blind in nature, then reviewers are writing almost anything and everything. So there is a debate going on whether the reviews shouldn't be blind. That means the authors know who the reviewers are, and the reviewers know who the authors are. So that way the reviews can be more true. So this is a new debate that is coming in. Also, um, handling editor reviews the manuscript first, and then internal editors look into. So how is the peer review? If I look into the role of the reviewer, the reviewer's role is to provide non-biased information to the authors. Non-biased in the sense that what you do or what your methodology is, you're not just saying that this is the superior methodology. Okay, you're also looking into what the authors have done in a absolutely non-biased way. And the most important part of accepting, once you have accepted that yes, you are a reviewer, then you have to be giving reviews in a time bound, accurate, justifiable manner, because based on your reviews, the journal article editor takes a decision. All right, there are many reviewers, and they can be many in the sense that mostly the journals practice, the best practice is to have two. So they can be more, three reviewers also, uh, generally two. And if there is a if the reviewers have given a review in an opposite way, completely opposite way, then maybe a third reviewer can be called, and their views can also be taken. So the whole review process is a time-taking process, because it may go in stretch in from months, 6 months to a year, and this is commonly what we see. However, if the reviewers feel that there is any kind of a misconduct in the whole process, then they can report it to the editors. Okay, I'll just move from here, because these are the things that we have talked about. Plagiarism, something which we have discussed in abundance. Okay,